Hello, I'm Ocean Rob, and so excited that in about 15 minutes we will begin our broadcast of episode 6 in the 2026 Food Revolution Summit docuseries. Today's topic is one that affects almost everyone, and that's surrounded by more myths and misinformation than almost anything else in health. Your strongest self, muscle, metabolism, and weight. Here's what the research is increasingly clear about. Building strength, supporting your metabolism, and reaching a healthy weight isn't about willpower or calorie counting. It's about giving your body the right fuel and the right movement. Today you're going to hear what the science actually says about protein, about muscle, about why diets so often fail, and about what actually works for long-term metabolic health. You're one of hundreds of thousands of people participating in this summit, and together we're taking a stand for knowledge, for empowerment, and for healthy, ethical, and sustainable food for all. Yesterday, we talked about supplements and the supplement industry, and the response has been tremendous. Jennifer said, all of the episodes thus far have been very helpful and informative to me, but this one, by far, I feel is going to truly make a difference for me and my life. So glad I bought the full empowerment package so I can go back and really dig deep, take copious notes, and start applying things to my diet and lifestyle. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Jennifer, thank you for being here and for participating so fully. And yeah, there was quite a response to yesterday's episode and to this summit overall. It is just thrilling for me, for Nicole, for our whole team to be able to share this with you. So thank you for being a part of it with us. Diane said, this is my first time listening to your amazing discussion. At lunch yesterday, I found a superfoods salad at the restaurant. It had kale, Brussels sprout leaves, carrots, broccoli, dried cranberries, and pumpkin seeds with a poppy seed dressing. I enjoyed the salad. It was filling. Normally, I would have wanted a protein in my salad, but I thought I'd give this a try. I was full all afternoon. Amazingly, I also woke up with no pain in my back or shoulder. The prior day I had a headache, achy shoulders, and thigh muscles. I will be continuing to test this to see how my body feels. It's likely I'll still eat animal-based proteins, but wanted to share how immediate this one meal really made a difference, as discussed during episode 5. Thank you. This is very eye-opening. Diane, thank you for sharing that story with us. And it's true, everybody can find out what pathway makes sense for them, and learning to listen to your body and learn from its wisdom is very empowering. And it's ultimately where the proof is in the pudding, they say. And so that you're feeling less pain and more vitality is wonderful. And we're just wishing you continued success on your healthy journey. And here's to more superfoods in your future. Debbie said, so much information in each session, loving each episode and trying to get my head around it all. A total change in lifestyle is needed, as you said, one step at a time. About overwhelming on where to start to go vegan and get good recipes. More research to be done. Overwhelming but exciting as well. Love to all from Australia. Well, Debbie, first of all, love right back to you in Australia. And I just want to say the fact that you feel both overwhelmed and excited is totally okay. In fact, it's a great place to be because it means you're taking this seriously and you can feel the potential of it. So I support you in not trying to change everything all at once. That can really be a recipe for burnout. I encourage you to pick one thing from each episode that's resonating with you and start there. Maybe it's adding ground flaxseed to your breakfast, or swapping one meal a week to a bean-based dish, or trying overnight oats. Small steps you take consistently are what actually change lives, and they add up faster than you might think. Step by step, you move in a new direction, and before you know it, you're in a new place. You just have to keep showing up, and you're clearly doing that. So, welcome to the revolution. Lorena said, a huge thank you. Food Revolution changed my life. My husband and I have been following the summit for 10 years now from Brazil. I wish the whole world got the message. Thank you, Lorena. We're so glad that you're getting the message with your husband and spreading the word. Thank you for being here from Brazil. Love right back to you. Manuela said, wish all episodes were available to replay, was not able to catch up on episode 4 on time. This is my second summit, but first time I'm sitting through and trying to watch every episode. So far the information is great. Thank you for all you do. I have diabetes, possibly type 1.5. If it was a different timing, I would have purchased the package, but I can't splurge at the moment. Thank you. I will continue to watch as best I can with my busy teacher schedule. Well, Manuela, thank you for sharing and participating in this summit. And we want to make it easier for you to engage. We want you to catch up on everything you missed and be able to watch it again anytime you want, and maybe even to share some of what you learn as a teacher. So we're going to gift you with an empowerment package. Our team will follow up with you. Congratulations. I know you will put it to good use. Friends, if you just joined us, I'm Ocean Robin, sharing some welcoming words. We will be starting episode 6 of the Food Revolution Summit docuseries in about 9 minutes at the top of the hour. Laura said, I had a question about microplastics. Is it worth transferring goods like bagged oats, buckwheat, etc. into different containers once you're home, or has the damage already been done by the time you purchase them? Any other tips for dealing with microplastics in our food? Laura, thank you for asking. We've been talking about microplastics a few times in this summit, and for good reason. There's a lot of them in our world. There's more and more of them all the time, and they're not a friend to your health. So, Laura, the honest answer is that transferring your food into glass or stainless steel containers at home is absolutely worth doing. Even if there's been some exposure already during packaging and transport, you're eliminating ongoing leaching that happens over time, especially if plastic bags get exposed to heat or light, or even just sit in your pantry for weeks or months. Microplastics leach more aggressively over time and with temperature changes. So the sooner you get food out of plastic packaging and into inert containers, the better. By the way, it is an option to actually go to the store with some bags that you can fill up, be they plastic or paper, or there's other materials, silicone bags and other things you can consider using if you want to, and filling up those. Or if you buy things that come in packaging that's plastic, you still may want to transfer it. We've got a bunch of jars, half-gallon jars, quart jars, gallon jars made out of glass that we keep in our home. And I often get food from bulk bins and then fill up those jars when we get home. And that's where we store it, and it's convenient. Now, beyond storage, a few other tips. So you want to avoid heating food in plastic containers, especially like in microwaves. And also don't put hot food in plastic containers. I recommend choosing glass or stainless steel food storage containers if you can. In the fridge, we store leftovers in glass containers with plastic snap-on lids. The plastic's on top and it's not touching the food directly. I recommend filtering your drinking water with a high-quality filter. A lot of microplastics can pass right through standard filters, so look for one that's rated for microplastic removal. And eat plenty of fiber-rich whole plant foods, because there's more and more research showing that a healthy, diverse microbiome and good gut motility can help your body eliminate microplastics and other toxins more efficiently. And here's a hopeful note for you. Your body does have capacity to clear some microplastics. And the practices we're talking about in this summit that support your gut health and your liver function and your cellular detoxification are all super relevant here. It's not a solved problem by any means, but you're asking the right questions, and there are steps you can take that can dramatically reduce your exposure. Shannon said, what's the best way to eat seeds? Should they be ground or soaked, or just added to food as they are? Well, Shannon, thanks for asking. And I love the question, because eating seeds is a super good idea for your health. The answer for the best way to eat them for bioavailability depends on the seed. So flax seeds are best eaten ground and raw. Whole flax seeds pass through the digestive system largely unabsorbed. So you can sprinkle your ground flax on oatmeal or blend it into smoothies or add it to baking as well. It doesn't have to be raw. You'll just get the most potent value raw. Chia seeds can be eaten whole or soaked. Soaking them creates a gel that's easy to digest and great in puddings or smoothies. I find that if they're not soaked first, or even sometimes if they are, they can go in one end and out the other. So I personally like to chew my chia seeds well, or simplest to grind them up as well, kind of like I do the flax seeds in many use cases. Hemp seeds have a soft shell, and they can be eaten just like they are once they've been dehulled. Most hemp seeds or hemp nuts you will buy have been dehulled, and at that point there's no grinding or soaking needed. You can literally just eat them with a spoon, or you can add them to lots of other foods as an ingredient. Sesame and pumpkin and sunflower seeds are usually fine eaten just as is, but light toasting can enhance the flavor. Soaking them overnight can improve digestibility and nutrient absorption for some people. Overall, soaking many seeds and nuts reduces compounds called phytates that can inhibit mineral absorption, so it's a helpful practice if you've got digestive sensitivity concerns. We'll be going more into gut health and digestion, by the way, in tomorrow's episode, which hopefully you will get a lot of value from as well. Mary said, does it matter what type of mushrooms one eats to help prevent cancer? Well, thanks for asking, Mary. We heard a lot in episode 4 about cancer prevention and the value of mushrooms. The type of mushrooms does matter when it comes to cancer, and the research here is pretty exciting. All mushrooms offer real health benefits, but there are some medicinal varieties that stand out for their immune modulating and anti-cancer properties. So the most well-researched mushrooms for cancer support include reishi, which has been studied for its immune boosting and tumor inhibiting properties. Also shiitake, which is super delicious, by the way. It has a compound called lentinin that's been used alongside conventional cancer treatments in some studies. Maitake has shown promise for immune support and cancer prevention, and turkey tail, which is one of the most extensively studied mushrooms for cancer, has been researched as a complement to conventional cancer treatment. Now, I also want to mention lion's mane because it's impressive for its neuroprotective and anti-inflammatory benefits. It hasn't been studied as much around cancer, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have benefit there. The good news, though, is that even common culinary mushrooms like cremini and portobello and the basic humble button offer meaningful antioxidant and immune supporting benefits. So eating a range of mushrooms is good. They all seem to have real benefit, and you'll probably do the best for cancer prevention if you focus on the ones that have been studied the most. Friends, if you're just joining us, we will be starting our broadcast of episode 6 of the Food Revolution Summit docuseries in a couple of minutes. I'm Ocean Robbins, sharing some welcoming words here. Shauna said, thank you so much for this incredible summit. This is my first one, and I've tuned in every day. I'm blown away by the value, generosity, and heart behind it. Huge thanks to the entire FRN team. My husband and I both have genetic health challenges in our families. And after losing my own brother last year, we're even more committed to staying healthy for our 6 kids and our grandbabies. The summit has been so validating, and we're excited to invest in things like complement, algae, omega, and creatine as soon as we can. Your mission and generosity are truly inspiring. This has been such a blessing to our family, from each expert interview to each yummy recipe. Thank you, FRN team, so very much. Shauna, thank you so much. We are sending lots of love to you. I'm sorry that you and your husband are dealing with genetic challenges in your families and that you've lost your brother. And I'm so happy to hear that you're committed to staying healthy for your 6 kids and your grandbabies. Congratulations on being a grandma. And thank you for being here. We're so grateful you're part of this summit with us and this revolution. And thanks for participating in the expert interviews and making some of the yummy recipes, by the way. For anybody who doesn't know, right on the broadcast page, in addition to our daily live broadcast and summit broadcast, we also have 3 more expert interviews available every day of the summit that go deep into the topics focused on that day. So these are a great resource if you want to go deeper in the journey. And of course, there are also 3 more recipes of the day every day of the summit, so you can keep cooking along as we learn and grow and hopefully share food together. Dahlia said, thank you, Ocean, and your team for another food revolution. It's beautiful to see you continue your father's legacy. I've enjoyed listening to you for many years. I would like to share my experience with my menopause. I don't have any hot flashes, maybe because I eat very healthy and drink a lot of unsweetened soy milk. Thanks again and many blessings. Dahlia, that is great to hear. Thanks for sharing that testimony. And the research is incredible. I think Dr. Barnard shared something like an 86% drop in hot flashes for people who ate a plant-based diet with soy. So good on ya for having those results, and lots of love to you. Thanks for being a part of this journey, and thanks for honoring our continuation of my father's legacy. Okay, friends, it's almost time. As today's episode unfolds, keep sharing your aha moments, your top takeaways, and your questions. After the episode, I'll be back with you to answer more questions and share some reflections and give away some prizes. Here we go with episode 6.
What if your food could do more than fuel you?
What if you could eat in a way that adds years to your life and life to your years?
What if the next revolution is not in your medicine cabinet, but in your kitchen?
If you want to make a change, then start with your plate.
Because what you eat shapes your thoughts.
The future is on your plate.
It's time for a food revolution.
The food revolution starts now.
The food revolution starts now.
The food revolution starts now. The future of food
is critical.
Healthy!
Nourishment.
Learn how to eat for vitality.
Learn how to eat for cancer prevention.
Learn how to eat for a longer life.
The future of food is now.
Let's do this.
Let's do this!
What if the organ that best predicts how well we age isn't the heart or the brain, but muscle? Some people think muscle is mainly for gym buffs, but it's really a 24-hour metabolic engine. More lean mass means better insulin sensitivity, steadier blood sugar, stronger bones, and even a brighter mood.
One of the most encouraging things about muscle is that it's remarkably adaptable across the lifespan. Whether you're 25 or 95, muscle tissue can still respond, can still strengthen, and support your health. This episode isn't about chasing a certain look or punishing workouts. It's about moving beyond diet culture myths, BMI-centered thinking, and anti-fat bias, and focusing instead on strength, function, and vitality for every body at every starting point.
Because once muscle and nourishment team up, momentum builds. Movement feels easier, energy climbs, and confidence spills into every corner of life. So we're going to focus on evidence-based practices to help you feel powerful in the body that you have right now.
Let's begin with a simple question. Why does adding just a bit more muscle dramatically reshape metabolism and blood sugar control?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Well, for insulin, for example, right? Toned muscle is way more insulin sensitive than untoned muscle, right? So we have muscle, and the muscle is metabolically active, and I work out, so I build muscle, even though I've been a plant-based for 40 years. So, you know, the point is that muscle stimulates the uptake of sugar, right? It keeps it balanced.
It's not really our body weight that matters. It's really how much, what our body composition is, meaning how much body fat we're carrying. And that's really the number that matters. So some people, when they gain weight, they tend to deposit it more in their abdominal area. Others deposit it more in their hips and thighs. And for reasons we don't fully know yet, but fat that goes to the abdomen causes a lot more problem than fat that goes to the hips and thighs. So it's much more likely to cause diabetes, heart disease, mortalities.
When you challenge your muscles and fuel them well, the body doesn't just get lighter, it actually gets reshaped. The visceral belly fat that drives diabetes and heart disease shrinks with full body movement. And that shift happens even faster when meals support rather than fight new muscle, which raises a question we hear a lot. What about protein? Can beans and lentils and tofu really stack up to chicken and whey for building strength?
I'd like to mention the study about protein. And of course, protein is something that I'm very interested in.
Yeah.
And what they did was they took, I think it was 40 young adults, both females and males. So that was a perk. And they randomized them to either a regular omnivorous diet or a vegan diet. And the protein was between 1 and 1.2 grams per kilogram body weight, which is really quite ideal. And they wanted to see the impact on muscle gains and how well that protein would work for them to build and retain muscle. There was no difference between the omnivorous and the vegan protein intakes. And so I love that study. There have been other studies that have shown the same, but for so many years, the belief was that animal protein was superior.
You get the equivalent amount of protein, the value is comparable.
Absolutely.
So then, of course, there are differences in terms of where your protein comes from for other reasons.
For so many years, we defined protein quality on the essential amino acid content and its digestibility, but we completely ignored the impact on risk of disease. So just in terms of ability to build muscle, they're on par. Yeah. For other things like disease risk, plant protein is so far superior.
I wanted to know how this whole meat gives you energy thing got started, and traced it back to the 1800s when a famous German chemist hypothesized that muscular energy came from animal protein, and that vegetarians were incapable of prolonged exercise. Liebig's beliefs were so widely accepted that they even inspired the USDA's first protein recommendations. By the time science proved his theory false with the discovery that hardworking muscles run primarily on the carbohydrates found in plants, it was too late. People all around the world had already bought into Liebig's ideas about meat and energy. But not everyone was convinced. As early as 1908, plant-based athletes were starting to claim their first Olympic golds.
Are you still sticking to your vegetarian diet, Mary?
Very rigidly, yes.
And do you find that's of benefit to you, do you?
Greatly, or I wouldn't do it.
Winning the gold medal! Lewis gets it, and it's a new world record as well!
I changed my diet to a vegan diet, and I set all of my personal bests at 30 years old.
The oldest man ever to win a world or Olympic.
Those athletes aren't just surviving on plants, they are thriving. They're building muscle, they're recovering efficiently, and they're performing at elite levels. The question isn't if protein needs can be met, but how they're being met.
And the answer might surprise you. It's not about protein powders or complicated formulas. It's about understanding how much you actually need and where to find it in whole foods.
If you look at the RDA for protein, it's 0.8 grams per kilogram body weight. And for many people, that's probably enough. But for plant-based eaters, because plant foods contain fiber, some of the protein we consume ends up in the stool. It gets carried out with the fiber. And so by increasing that 0.8 grams by 10, 15%, it probably helps compensate for what we might lose. And so, 0.9 or 1. And so I like to round it up to 1 gram per kilogram body weight. And that's actually what's recommended for children. It's 0.95 for most children. And so it's very close to 1 gram per kilogram body weight. Mm-hmm. So you might want to go just slightly more than that for kids, which is super easy to do. It's not very difficult. But there are individuals for whom we need a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And so I would say pregnant and lactating women, the RDA is 1.1 during pregnancy, 1.3 during lactation. So we might want to boost that to 1.2 and 1.4. And whether or not that's necessary, actually, that boost of 10 to 15% depends on how much low fiber protein rich food you consume. Mm-hmm. So if soy milk and tofu and peanut butter and veggie meat and, these lower fiber choices are a regular part of your diet, you may not need to do that 10% mm-hmm. increase. But if you are mainly a beans and greens and whole grains kind of person, then that would make a lot of sense. The other people for whom I would recommend a little bit higher protein intake are seniors. Now, in North America, we don't have a separate RDA for seniors, but they do in many countries. including Australia. Several of the European countries have a separate recommendation for seniors. And I would say the consensus is building that closer to 1.2 grams per kilogram body weight is probably where we want to aim for seniors. And, you know, it's much harder for seniors because their caloric needs go down.
And then space it throughout the day. So if you're eating 3 meals a day, space it. If you're eating 2 meals a day, space it to make sure you're getting it. And that's important for muscle repair. Many adults underconsume protein, and we're not talking the extremes that they're telling you to do on social media. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about aiming for 20 to 30 grams of high quality plant protein per meal, right? So that'll look like lentils, that'll look like tofu, that'll look like hemp seeds, tempeh, all of that.
What's the best recipe? A healthy plant-based diet that's sufficient in protein, but also gives your body a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of phytonutrients, you know, vitamins and minerals and other phytonutrients. All of them play a significant role in building your muscle. And when it comes to protein, we know that, you know, the different sources of protein in the plant kingdom give us everything that we need. Soy, but also beans and lentils and tofu and, you know, the whole grains. Those are excellent sources of protein.
I often think to myself, like, I could make an appetizer, a main course, and dessert with chickpeas. And wouldn't that be so strange to serve all three in one meal?
Yes. Oh, and don't get me started on hummus. Protein's made up of 20 standard amino acids. Your body can make some of these on its own, but there are 9 essential amino acids that you've got to derive from food. All the essential amino acids are found across the plant kingdom in various whole foods. So if you eat a variety of whole foods and get enough protein overall, it's going to work out just fine. But when it comes to building muscle, there is one amino acid that might deserve a little special attention, and that's leucine. Research shows that leucine supports muscle growth, and when it's consumed as part of whole plant foods, it contributes to healthy metabolic function. This makes it valuable for preventing and managing metabolic diseases like type 2 diabetes.
Leucine plays a particularly important role in muscle growth. It acts as a key signal for muscle protein synthesis by activating the mTOR pathway, essentially giving muscle tissue the cue to repair and rebuild. You don't need large amounts though. Research suggests that around 2 to 3 grams of leucine per meal is often associated with maximal stimulation of muscle protein synthesis, not as a minimum, but as an optimal range. And when leucine-rich foods are eaten alongside carbohydrates and other essential amino acids, as naturally happens with meals like beans and rice or tofu with quinoa, the anabolic response is even stronger.
The good news is that leucine is readily available in plant foods. Soybeans, lentils, chickpeas, pumpkin seeds, and peanuts are all solid sources. For example, a cup of cooked lentils provides about 1.3 grams of leucine. A half cup of firm tofu offers another gram. That makes it very achievable to meet leucine needs to whole plant foods when overall protein intake is adequate. Now, my go-to smoothie is peanut butter and hemp seeds with some banana and mango, all blended with soy milk. It's about 39 grams of complete protein in one smoothie, and it tastes delicious, by the way. So soy milk earns that starring role for a reason. It's the highest protein of any plant milk. It delivers anywhere between 7 and 12 grams per cup, depending on the brand. I use Eden Soy Unsweetened, which gives me 12 grams per cup of soy milk. With 2 cups, that's 24 grams. Then there's 2 tablespoons of peanut butter and hemp hearts, each delivering 8 and 6 grams of protein respectively. We're at 39 grams right there before adding the mango and the vanilla.
And delicious smoothies are just one way to get lots of protein. High-protein dinners might include tempeh tacos, lentil stews, 3-bean chili for dinner, and can land you in that same range. High-protein snacks can be crunchy baked chickpeas, veggies and hummus, or an apple and nut butter. Once you know plant protein sources, meeting your daily target can be simple.
And not to get on too much of a soapbox, but I am a big fan of organic soy milk. There are a lot of plant milks on the market, but it delivers the most protein, along with the isoflavones and the phytoestrogens that are so health promoting. Soy is good for your heart, it's good for your body's ability to fight cancer, and it's a great protein source. Now, some people can't digest it, but for those who can, it's my favorite go-to plant milk. We've looked at how to fuel the engine. Now it's time to build. The truth is that you don't need a gym pass or marathon workouts to spark new muscle. Research shows that even 2 or 3 resistance training sessions per week can increase strength by 20 to 40% in just 8 to 12 weeks.
And we're not talking about complicated routines or expensive equipment. A handful of smart resistance-based moves, squats, push-ups, resistance bands, can do the trick when done consistently.
So what does the science actually say? Which strategies turn limited time into real strength gains? And how much do you really need to see results?
If you eat all of those healthy foods, the fruits and vegetables and whole grains and legumes, and get a variety of those foods, you will get all your muscles need. But muscles will not grow by just eating. You need to challenge them. So that's where resistance training comes in. I personally gained 3 pounds of muscle in the last few weeks. I kept my body weight constant. And, no supplements, no protein shakes, just a healthy plant-based diet. And I just focused more on the resistance training and challenged myself more. And that's how you grow muscle. You challenge your muscles more on a consistent basis.
Resistance training is a great thing. I've got my weights right by me. As much like weights and resistance training that I can do, just consistently is going to be really important. And research has shown that individuals who do adult strength training have higher metabolic rates and better blood sugar control than those who don't. Okay, so prioritize your muscle.
So what I always tell people is exercise is the fountain of youth. So if I had to pick the one thing besides diet and the other lifestyle components that can really keep people young, it's exercise. Now, is it cardio? Is it strength? Yes, it's both. One of the things that we focused on for a long time in cardiovascular medicine is cardio, right? Getting yourself exercising to a point of breathlessness, working out every day. But it turns out that combining that with strength is even better. And we've learned that muscular strength, even things like grip strength, actually predict outcomes almost as good as some of the other things we measure. And so what I always tell people these days is to intertwine. So if you're going to do weightlifting, right, you always hear people say, don't skip leg day, right? Like when you do legs, they're your biggest muscles in your body. You want to do it to a point that you're huffing and puffing the whole time. So when I do squats and whatever, it's a lot of work. And when I'm done, even when I'm doing it, I'm huffing and puffing and sweating. That's what I want people to do.
So start with movement. And what kind of movement and how much? You need both strength training and aerobic. You really need both. I know that people are jumping on VO2 max and so on and so forth. Yeah, those are great. You can go to that level of detail if you want. But reality is your aerobic health should be such that you really push yourself 25 to 30 minutes a day, 5 to 6 days a week, to the point of not just comfort, where you're actually feeling short of breath at some point in this walk.
We know that muscles thrive on challenge, but not everyone is up for barbells and boot camps. What about starting more slowly? How do we scale resistance so it's safe, doable, and still delivers results?
Squats are one of the most exceptional, physical exercises, muscle building exercises are. It works, the largest muscle groups in your body. And when you can work the largest muscle group in your body, it's a very efficient way to burn maximum amount of calories, from a single type of exercise. So a squat, everyone's able to do it. Even if you're 85, you could do a very small partial squat and it's still, going to be okay. I don't want to check with your doctor, all the things I'm supposed to say if you're not used to exercises. That said, everyone can benefit from doing squats and they're easy to do. Like, when I get off this interview, I might do 10, then head outside, which I like to do.
And if people are going for walks, which is great, grab a weighted vest, grab some dumbbells, get some ankle weights. If you're on an exercise bike or an actual bike, put the resistance on so that you go a little faster or steeper, whatever it is. But combining those two things is truly powerful. But at the end of the day, a long-winded answer to say everyone's mileage varies, and your goal is to get to a zone of roughly 30 minutes a day of breathlessness at whatever level that is. So if you're not in great shape, that may be walking pretty slowly. But if you're in great shape, that may be really running fast with a weight vest on.
What is a brisk walk? A brisk walk is you're walking fast enough that your heart is beating faster. This is not just a trudge. This is not a stroll. It's not a romantic moonlit, stroll on the beach. You got to get your
heart. Those are good too.
Those are fine, but you've got to get your heart beating.
Yeah.
You are not running a marathon. A brisk walk means you can still speak. So heart is beating faster, but you're still able to breathe and speak normally to the person you're hopefully walking with. And get it up to about 40 minutes. My own personal prejudice is I want more than that. So I do think more is better. And so for me personally, I like to lace up my sneakers and go out for a good run and do that 3 times a week. But if you're not able to do that, you do what you can do and you're getting a benefit.
Work your way towards 25 to 30 minutes of brisk exercise aerobically where you get tired, where you get short of breath. The strength training is critically important, especially leg strength. Do not skip leg day. And that doesn't mean doing squats with weights on your shoulder. No, nobody needs that. Not even, unless you're running for Mr. Olympia. You can use regular squats, mini squats. My favorite thing to my population that follow us is do little mini squats. Not all the way 45 degrees or 90 degrees, just, 70 degrees. While you're standing watching a show, do 20 of those and slowly build that up in a measurable way.
We've talked about structured resistance training sessions 2 to 3 times per week. That foundation matters, but here's what surprises a lot of people. Most of your daily calorie burn doesn't come from workouts at all.
Your body burns energy in 4 ways. First, your basal metabolic rate, the energy needed just to stay alive. Second, the thermic effect of food, the calories used to digest what you eat. Third, structured exercise. And fourth, something called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. NEAT is every movement you make outside of formal workouts. Walking to the mailbox, taking the stairs, standing while you talk on the phone, even fidgeting. These small, unscripted movements really add up, and for many people, they actually account for more calories burned than their workout sessions.
Well, I do plenty of fidgeting, so that must help. The beautiful part is that movement opportunities are already woven into your day. You don't need special equipment or extra time. You just need to notice the openings and use them. And for people who face mobility challenges or time constraints, this becomes even more important.
You've got something called your non-exercise thermogenesis. So your body uses a certain amount of energy just in being, just kind of existing, breathing, thinking. And when you eat more plants, you can actually improve the efficiency of that non-exercise thermogenesis as well.
I would say that the one thing that anybody should do if you want to start someplace is pick a show that you watch. And during that show, you're standing, break it into 20 minutes and 10 minutes. 20 minutes of stepping in place and 10 minutes of mini squats. Make sure that your posture is right. Make sure that you don't have knee problems and all of that stuff. That's between you and your clinician. But if you don't have those problems, that show, half an hour show, breaking it into 20 and 10 to start with, oh my goodness, that becomes a sustainable program. Because that shows you don't have to go to a gym, you don't have to dress up, you could be in like t-shirt and shorts, nobody's watching, and that becomes the foundation of your health plan.
I have had a patient who had type 2 diabetes. She was 60 pounds overweight. She was working really long hours and raising a child on her own. And she's like, I can't add one more thing to my life. I can't go do, 2 hours of workouts at a time. I can't do it or whatever. I can't even squeeze in 30 minutes. So what I did was it's like, what can you do when you're outside? Like, when are you outside? Here's the stacking point. She's like, well, I'm in my car when I go to my work and I come home and I'm in the driveway. I was like, this is what we need to do. You open up your door, you walk to the end of your driveway and back. I was like, can you do that? She was like, yes, but why would I? Because I said, just trust me. And she's like, I can do that. And she started laughing. That's the point, because it was so simple. She's like laughing. Her brain didn't even begin to think, wait, I need to defend this habit or my belief that I can't do that. Instead, it was like, okay, this seems comical, but we'll give it a shot. So what we did is before she left, we did a pinky promise. It's like I was still seeing patients in person. And what happened was she started walking to the end of her driveway and then back. And before you know it, she's like, I can walk around the block. So she'd walk around the block. Now, I don't know if she left her car door open this entire time, but over time, she'd walk twice around the block. And over time, it's 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 miles. And then what happens here is, this is what I would consider maybe a keystone habit, is that things start anchoring to that. So she starts believing herself as someone who moves her body, someone who is healthier. So guess what? She starts eating those healthy foods I've been telling her to eat, those whole food plants. And before you know it, she's lost 60 pounds and she's walking 2 or 3 miles a day and she reverses her diabetes. But it started with walking down to the end of the driveway and back because she so believed that she was unable and not capable of doing it. But when she starts believing it, she found ways that naturally just started evolving because the brain's like, oh, you are that person? Okay, let's start making our lives that person. And so when you start asking those questions and saying, what am I possible? Can I shrink this so small that I can continue it? And people go, yeah, that's great. But then what if I move or something challenges me? I was like, I consider there's 3 levels of habits. Let's say it's a walking habit. So instead of walking 30 minutes a day, maybe you have to walk 10 minutes this day. But if even that's really hard, maybe you're injured or something, maybe you just step outside, right, and just get some fresh air. But what you do is you keep the habit alive. And every single time that you do it, and it's not a failure, it's just dealing with life, because life that's the way it is. It's like, surprise, I'm going to give you this challenge. That's wonderful, because now you can use that challenge. And when you still keep that tiny habit, and when the challenge is overcome, guess what? You can start building that habit back up because you already know how to do it. That is who you are already. And so it's not like starting over.
Maybe if there's a person who's non-ambulatory and they can only sit in a chair, then let's try to work 2 to 3 days a week and start doing what you can do in your chair, in your range, and still try to work on stretching a little bit beyond where you are. And though you might feel a little discomfort initially, the more you're able to do, and aside from if there's a strong contracture, but the more you're able to do that, the better your pain will be. And so there are some people that may be at an intermediate space that we can try to increase the level of the things that they can do. But I think movement is the most important thing, because motion really is lotion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it rhymes with ocean. So yeah, I want people to actually get up and move in whatever range you can move in.
What about nitric oxide? Does it improve athletic performance?
So nitric oxide is, it's very beneficial. It is released by the healthy endothelium, and it helps the blood vessels dilate. And so if you see a lot of athletes now are taking in things like beet juice or beet greens because they help to produce nitric oxide, actually improve athletic performance to some degree. And so nitric oxide is a marker of healthy endothelium. Now, we know from a number of studies, and Esselstyn and Ornish and others have all been involved in this, where if you eat a super high-fat food or an animal-based food in large quantities, that the endothelial cells temporarily sort of shut down and they don't respond to that same degree, and they won't produce the nitric oxide to relax as much. And so you can imagine that a relaxed, healthy artery can deliver blood more efficiently to whatever the target organ would be.
Nitric oxide is getting a lot of press because people are recognizing that anything that improves blood flow to certain areas of the body, it can make you enjoy your life and be stronger and in certain situations. And so there is room for that. I don't see any downside of doing more arugula, more beetroot juice, and those kinds of things could be very helpful.
Nitric oxide does more than help athletes shave seconds off race times. It's a marker of healthy blood vessels, and when your arteries can relax and dilate properly, blood flows more efficiently to every organ in your body.
And that means better oxygen delivery to your muscles during exercise. It means improved heart function and sharper mental clarity, and even enhanced recovery. Now, the foods that boost nitric oxide, like beets, arugula, and leafy greens, work by giving your body the raw materials that it needs to keep your vascular system flexible and responsive.
Now, this raises an important question. If a plate full of plants can open arteries for elite athletes, what might it do for someone battling a chronic condition? Our next story shows just how far those ripple effects can reach.
At about age 40, I began to suffer from migraines, and they became progressively worse over the decade. By the time I got to 50, I could not predict the next day. I was getting 2 and 3 a week. Sometimes they were lasting multiple days. It was really just very difficult to do my job, be a good mom, plan anything into the future. So I felt like something had to give. And the more research I did on nutrition, the more I realized that there was something behind this. So that was the motivator to really clean up our diet. We noticed that little nit-nat things that had been bothering us went away. And I was able to, with just nutrition alone, I was able to cut my migraines in half in terms of severity, duration, and frequency. And that was really meaningful because I was in much better shape after that. And ultimately, I am now 3 years out from that, and I don't have migraines anymore. As I began to cook for my family differently, I noticed that the constellation of autoimmune issues that my husband and mother-in-law had and the heart disease that my father-in-law had also began to remediate. So there was just this knock-on effect for those in my orbit. A little over a year ago, I was meeting with the CEO of our company, and he asked me, as he often does when we would sit down for coffee, what are you passionate about? And I said, so I have been on a journey for the last, at the time, 7-8 years. And I'm at a place now where I have completely turned my life around. And I told him my migraine story. And his first response was, gosh, I didn't even know you were dealing with that. I'm so sorry. But tell me how this, turned things around for you. So I talked him through my story and my journey of healing and overall experience. And he was really surprised and impressed. Of course, like most people, had no idea of the power of food. And so as we continued to talk more, I told him that I thought we had the opportunity to make Principal Financial Group healthier. And his answer was, what would that look like? So we worked on a presentation, Dr. Bernard and I did, for a few months. And in July of 2024, we presented to the CEO and a leadership team at our company. We are a Fortune 250 financial services company based in Des Moines, Iowa. So not the kind of organization that you would automatically think of when you think progressivity or open-mindedness, but we are, in fact, all of those things. And so a couple of days after we presented to the team, they contacted me and said, we'd like to go forward on a pilot basis. So we launched on January 7th of 2025 with 240 people, all colleagues, and then we ran that program through the end of April. We were just a couple of weeks into the program and we started to see people supporting each other. Rather than, me hosting the chat, being the one with all of the answers, people were researching things themselves, coming back to the group and supporting each other with recipes and ideas and just good moral support, as well as good answers from the resources that we had directed them to. So that was really empowering to see. And we had incredible results. We saw an average LDL drop of 28 points. The high was 65 points. Everyone improved their LDL numbers. 50% of those in the abnormal range got into the normal range in the 16 weeks. The average A1C drop was 18%, and the highest was 45%, which is quite significant. Average weight loss for the group was 13.7 pounds, and the highest was 53 pounds. Our participants told us that they sleep much better than they had before. We went from 59% to 72%, saying that they sleep 7 to 8 hours and the quality of their sleep has improved. So post-program, we have kind of an alumni group that has formed, and I've really encouraged everybody to join or start whole food plant-based potlucks in their communities, because it's so important that we have good community support around us.
Gretchen's story shows how one change can ripple through a whole community. Food and movement clearly drive metabolism, but there's another force that can override all of it, and that's stress.
We're not talking about everyday ups and downs. Chronic stress is different. It can alter hormone signaling, affect metabolism, and influence health in ways that often go unnoticed. Persistently elevated cortisol, for example, can make it harder to support muscle growth and manage weight, even when nutrition is otherwise really solid.
So how do we interrupt that cascade and bring the body back into balance?
Stress can affect metabolism quite a bit. We live in modern society, which is a very stressful society. But stress is not just emotional. It is metabolic in a way. And when I think of the stress response, I'm thinking of it between the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems. So we have our autonomic nervous system, our body's way of responding to things. And when we're in a stress state, we're really coming from a sympathetic or overdrive state, which is basically the body is on survival mode. The body's just really trying to get by. And, I talk to so many people and they're like, I'm just really trying to get by. If I can eat a healthy meal that like once a week, that's like a great, because we're just always in overdrive where you're just moving too fast. And when you're in that sympathetic state, you're not in the parasympathetic. So parasympathetic is your relaxed rest and digest. So imagine you're always in this stress state. Any food you eat, even if it's good food, your body can't break it down because it's not able to digest from a state of stress because the body's just trying to hold on to everything. And one of the main factors in there is a hormone called cortisol. So cortisol does impact metabolism, and that's why stress, especially chronic unprocessed stress, leads to elevated levels of cortisol for quite a bit of time. Another test that I'm always testing my patients on, I'm like, let's just see where your cortisol levels are, not just a one time. Let's see in 24 hours of a day, are they being affected by the food you eat, the exercise you do, like your job, like what is really disrupting this? But cortisol will increase blood sugar. Okay, so for people who are like, oh, I just can't seem to lose the weight, it's all around my belly, all of that. Well, you haven't addressed your stress response, because cortisol will increase something called gluconeogenesis, which is your liver basically produces more glucose in response to the fight or fight. It's kind of like your brain doesn't know if it's going to get more food or not. So it's in this stress state. So it's like, oh, let's just raise blood sugar levels. It creates insulin resistance, right? So now over time, your body, your cells stop responding to insulin, really making higher glucose levels circulating, which in turn creates more fat storage, especially around that abdomen. Glucose triggers visceral fat accumulation. Now, what is that? That is the fat that goes around your organs. All these little guys, these organs inside your body, right? So those get covered with fat. How do I know that? Because, well, I've done so many autopsies and I know what they look like on the inside.
Oh.
You never see it, but I see it.
It's been demonstrated that people who do not get a good night's sleep for any reason, whether it's the alcohol, caffeine, or whatever it might have been, eat more the next day, a significantly larger number of calories, and make worse food choices the very next day. And this is, I'm not talking cumulative because you didn't sleep well for the past 6 months. I'm talking about one night of non-restorative sleep affects those choices the next day. And what does that do? Well, it affects your metabolism. You gain weight. Ultimately, if you keep doing this, and weight gain will affect your sleep because of sleep apnea. And so you create this vicious cycle that only makes things worse. You gain more weight. You become diabetic. And that's not where we need to go.
If chronic stress can short circuit our metabolism, the flip side is equally important. When we intentionally hit pause, the body gets a chance to reset. Science is now showing that stillness isn't just getting a break. It's a biological necessity. And you don't need hour-long meditation retreats or spa days to see these benefits.
I like to think of stillness not as a luxury, but really a biologic need, right? Like your body needs stillness, okay? And your body doesn't need to always feel like it's pushing through with something. And honestly, the body never forgets. So how you treat your body with these things can really be beneficial. And there's a very strong connection between, the mindfulness and all these practices that we do, and metabolic health. Like I said, from that sympathetic to the parasympathetic, it will improve your blood sugar regulation. It will support the digestion and improve your sleep. All of these things, and they're research backed.
You can meditate, you can listen to relaxing music, and then you just keep it low. I have had people who are like super stressed, and they've gone and done a lot of traveling with their companies and a lot of stressful jobs, and they do that for 3 days, and major things. Their blood sugar gets better, their blood pressure gets better. They start to lose weight when before they couldn't lose the weight. So it's a super, super helpful habit. I have people who started doing it once a month just because they wanted and needed the reset, right? So that's one. So sleep and the stress management, food-wise, right? So many people are eating on the run. And when you eat on the run and you're not chewing your food and you're not mixing it with your saliva and allowing the rested digestive tract to produce its stuff, then you don't digest your food well, and that adds to the stress. So we do things like having them chew before they eat, enjoy every single bite. Most people, myself included, when you're just in a hurry going from one thing to another, we eat so fast that we don't really enjoy it while it's in our mouth.
There's a quiet rebellion in simply slowing down, in actually tasting your food instead of swallowing your life in a hurried rush, in breathing deeply to remember what calm feels like.
Friends, these aren't luxuries. They're the foundation. When you pause before eating, when you chew slowly enough to actually experience the flavors, when you let your nervous system know that it's safe, everything shifts. Digestion improves, blood sugar stabilizes, stress hormones settle.
It's remarkable how something as simple as a few intentional breaths can reset your entire system in real time. These aren't complicated interventions. They're remembering to be human, to be present, to honor the nourishment you're receiving.
And that quality of presence matters even more as our bodies change with time. Because our hormones are constantly in conversation with our metabolism. When those hormones shift notably, like they do in midlife, how does that reshape the way our bodies build and maintain muscle?
As we age, our metabolism does slow down. And this happens naturally because of some changes the body is going through. It loses muscle mass. So, you decrease muscle mass in the body. The body has lower estrogen and lower testosterone, which can alter where the fat is distributed. And then your mitochondria, my little favorite organelles in here, they slow down and reduce your body's ability to convert that food into energy. So there's 3 things going on here on this kind of mechanism pathway So what do? You're going to target that specifically, right? So you're going to prioritize muscle. That's basically metabolic gold, right? So it is your most metabolically active tissue. And because as we age, for people over 60, you're losing 3 to 8% of your muscle mass every decade.
Yes, exactly right. And when you're able to work on improving your muscle mass, then you're able to burn more energy and improve your metabolism in that way. So, yeah. And similarly, a lot of women struggle perimenopausally because of the way that our estrogen levels are changing. It's harder for us to then burn calories in the same way. And our fat cells are sometimes also trying to take over and produce more of that estrogen that our ovaries were producing before. And so there's sometimes a shift in the way that our body fat is distributed as well, which can sometimes, be a problem for people.
We've been talking about muscle and metabolism and how our bodies change over time. Before we go any further, though, we need to address something critical: the way society treats people based on their body size. Because here's what happens. Someone might be doing everything we've discussed: eating well, moving their body, managing stress. But if they're walking through life being judged by strangers, being dismissed by their doctor, or treated as less than because of their weight, that shame becomes sometimes its own form of health crisis. It can undermine everything else.
Research consistently shows that body weight isn't simply a matter of willpower. It reflects a complex interaction of biology, genetics, hormones, and the food environments we live in. At the same time, weight-based stigma has continued to increase over recent decades. Making sense of this means distinguishing health-related evidence from cultural narratives that equate weight with personal worth.
There's still a lot of work to be done because, fat acceptance and anti-fat bias, these are still lagging areas of growth in our societies. So if you look at the implicit association test out of Harvard, this measures our deep-rooted unconscious bias, the biases we don't even know we're holding on to, the prejudices that are so deep they're shielded even from ourselves. What you see is over the last 20 years, bias based on race, based on gender, based on sexual orientation, all going down. Based on age, every metric, they've got about 16 of them, all going down. The only one that's not going down, and it actually is still going up, is anti-fat bias. And so we have failed as a society at understanding that when someone carries excess weight, it's got nothing to do with their intelligence or their self-love or their well-being. It's got everything to do with their genes and the obesogenic food environment that we live in. And some people are predisposed to have bodies that are going to suck on weight in this current food environment. We have a very, very sick food environment. And the task of someone who's carrying excess weight to stay impervious to all of those projections that people are slinging at them all day long, that doctors are not giving them proper treatment and airplanes don't have seats for them. And, people are looking at them thinking, why aren't you taking care of yourself? It's a big load to carry beyond the weight, right? It's a lot. And so, it's difficult when you're carrying a lot of excess weight to, tap into your deeper stores of self-love. And at the same time, I have to say, as someone who has carried excess weight and really struggled with it, I tried the route of healing through self-love, and I did not find that that was the route. It's biological what's going on. It wasn't actually that I didn't love myself. It was that I was eating foods that triggered my brain to create obesity and cravings and excess hunger. And so, yeah, we've got a long ways to go as a society. And I think waiting for the external food environment to change is probably not wise. I think these packaged foods are here to stay, right? I love that the Food Revolution Network is working to change the food environment. And as someone who's got a brain that is predisposed to insatiable hunger, overpowering cravings, and obesity, if I just swim with the fish and go with the school, as everyone's eating, I'm gonna not be happy or healthy. And I can love myself all I want, but I'm gonna be carrying a lot of excess weight and eating a pint of Haagen-Dazs every night. So it's really up to me to change my identity and become someone who eats differently.
Here's something most people don't realize. They're not actually in control of their food choices the way that they think they are. The food system we live in is engineered for craveability. It's designed to override your natural signals of hunger and fullness. So when someone struggles to change how they eat, even when their health depends on it, it's not a personal failing.
And that's exactly why GLP-1 agonist medications like Ozempic, Zepbound, Wegovy have exploded in popularity. People are searching for something that works when willpower alone hasn't been enough. What most people don't realize is that these drugs are mimicking something your body already knows how to do.
So GLP is a hormone. It's called glucagon-like peptide 1. Okay, so it's a hormone. It's linked with metabolic health. It is particularly important in blood sugar regulation. Okay, so what we've been talking about, metabolic health, for insulin secretion, appetite control. So think about GLP as the hormone that helps your body handle food more efficiently. Now, where is it made? It's specifically produced in the enteroendocrine cells located in your small intestine and your colon. Right? So we actually, and I've seen them under the microscope. I can see these cells, and that's what they make. Okay. And what these cells do is they respond to the nutrients that you are eating and that arrive in the gut after you eat. GLP also slows gastric emptying. Okay. So that means the rate of food that is leaving your body, which can help you feel full and also helps you prevent rapid glucose spikes. Now, before I even tell you what else it does, which is why I'm thinking of the lentil like doll that I have going on here. Why do I eat so many lentils? Because I know that eating those prebiotic foods is going to slow down gastric emptying. I'm going to feel more full, and my body's going to, my gut is going to get the prebiotics that it needs and the fiber that it needs from eating those lentils. It also, GLP, as most people are knowing it now, supports weight and metabolic control. And this is really the mechanism by which these drugs are targeting. So the things that are on the market, like the semaglutides, like Ozempic, Wegovy, whatever else name they will come up with. But at the end of the day, you can increase GLP-1 naturally in your body.
We did an experiment where we brought in people with type 2 diabetes, and we gave them 2 different sandwiches with the same calories, 455 calories. One morning they ate a meat-containing sandwich, and the other morning they ate a vegan sandwich. And we know that people with diabetes have a diminished incretin effect. That means that their GLP-1 after a meal barely goes up. It's kind of a flat line. That's what we exactly saw after the meat-containing sandwich. A flat line, the GLP-1 didn't go up. But after the vegan sandwich, we saw a nice peak in GLP-1 secretion. That would be comparable to sitagliptin, one of the medications that has been developed to treat this particular condition.
The notion that a calorie from one source is just as fattening as any other is a trope broadcast by the food industry as a way to absolve itself of culpability. Coca-Cola itself even put an ad out there emphasizing this one simple common sense fact. As the current and past chairs of the Harvard's nutrition department put it, this central argument from industry is that the overconsumption of calories from carrots would be no different than the overconsumption of calories from soda. If a calorie is just a calorie, why does it matter what we put in our mouths? It's true that in a tightly controlled laboratory setting, 240 calories of carrots would have the same effect on calorie balance than the 240 calories in a bottle of Coke. But this comparison falls flat on its face out in the real world. You could chug those liquid candy calories in less than a minute, but eating 240 calories of carrots would take you more than 2.5 hours of sustained, constant chewing. not only would your jaw get sore, but 240 calories of carrots is like 5 cups. You might not even be able to fit them all in. In a lab, a calorie is a calorie, but in life, far from it.
So specific strategies to increase GLP-1. Eat more fermentable fiber and prebiotics. I already mentioned that, right? So those foods, oats, garlics, leeks, Jerusalem artichokes, legumes are all going to support that GLP release, okay? Eat those polyphenol-rich foods. So berries, dark chocolate, green tea, pomegranate. I've got pomegranate in the fridge right now. Prioritize healthy fats. So MUFAs, or monounsaturated fats, like those in olive oil, avocado, nuts, can also help stimulate the body's natural GLP-1. And then time-restricted eating and fasting, exercise regularly. I think if we go back to the foundation of what our body needs, we can help the body start creating the things that it was meant to create in the first place.
What about taking GLP-1 drugs? Are there times when they can be helpful?
I think that these drugs are really helpful for some people. I'm pro-choice about them. I think that they make sense in some cases. And what I personally tell people is, if you have a brain where you've not been able to achieve what you want to achieve behaviorally because the cravings are too bad and the hunger is too intense, these medications can be a tool. But you need to think of them as a long-term tool and an adjunct support to the program you're going to work. And you've got to focus on healthy eating and lifestyle changes. And then if you can't sustain that on your own, if you don't have it in you, if it's just too hard, then these medications can be a tool to help.
It also works at the brain level and helps to remove cravings and suppresses the reward system. So you're not rewarded by certain foods anymore. And so that can be really helpful, especially when we live in a world with tons of food noise. Everywhere you go, there's just lots of fast food. You go into the grocery store and over 70% of that is ultra processed, you know? And when we're living in a very fast paced world, if you're not planning in advance, you're going to fall into those traps of buying those foods that may not be as healthy, but are very convenient. So I always tell my patients that when we put them on a GLP-1, these are their training wheels. It's calming down that food noise so that when it's time to eat, if you have a plan, it's really important to have a plan. My number one goal is for you to live that long, healthy life with the least amount of medicines possible. So that's what I usually tell them. And when we reshift the focus, they're able to say, yes, that's right. I want to live a nice long life to go ahead and run around with my grandchildren and, and not be limited by medications, by having to sit in a wheelchair, etc. So by painting that picture for them, it helps them refocus it, and hopefully it keeps them on track a little bit more.
Side effects from taking GLP-1 agonists can include gastrointestinal issues and, in some cases, more serious complications. This might be part of the reason that statistically, within 2 years, about 85% of the people who have started GLP-1 medications have gone off them. And they usually regain most of the weight they'd lost within the first year.
For many people, GLP-1 medications don't appear to offer a durable, long-term solution on their own. At the same time, we know that individual effort isn't enough to counter a food environment designed to drive overconsumption. That raises an important question about what kinds of structures actually support lasting change.
Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson has spent years studying this question. Her answer? Clear, non-negotiable boundaries. No sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day with nothing in between. It sounds simple, maybe even rigid, but there's real science behind these bright lines and how they can quiet food chatter and reduce cravings, with or without medication. And her data shows people maintaining significant weight loss 6 years out, longer, in fact, than the clinical trials for Ozempic and Wegovy. So what's actually happening here?
We just published a really big study in Frontiers in Psychiatry, which is the second to top journal in the field of psychiatry. And It was a 6-year follow-up of Bright Line Eating participants who started Bright Line Eating back in 2017, and they did our boot camp back then. And then they did whatever they did, right? So some of them stuck with Bright Line Eating, some of them didn't. Interestingly, on average, the whole cohort is maintaining about a 7% weight loss 6 years later, even though a lot of them aren't even doing Bright Line Eating still, showing again that even getting some exposure to the notion of not eating sugar and flour and eating 3 meals a day can have some sort of inoculating effect, some sort of protective effect against our toxic food environment, and people can sort of keep in mind some better habits years down the line. But the people who stick with Bright Line Eating actually are maintaining weight loss 6 years later that beats out Ozempic and Wegovy at 4 years. Our 6-year data are even better than their 4-year data, showing even more longevity. People are not regaining their weight. So we achieve that by really behaviorally creating the same effects that the weight loss drugs give. People lose their food chatter. People lose their insatiable hunger. People feel like they don't need to rely on willpower anymore because they have habits. The same way you're not, if you're a toothbrusher and every night you brush your teeth before bed, it doesn't really take a lot of willpower to get that done. You don't have to have motivation or anything like that. It just kind of happens before bed. In the same way, we wire in breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so people are just eating the right thing at the right time, and it just doesn't even take willpower anymore to get it done. So we have a behavioral, habit-based, automaticity-based program that is taking the load off of willpower, reducing hunger, reducing cravings without any drugs, without those side effects. We have some side effects too, more energy, more feelings of being loved and connected in the world, higher quality of life, things like that. So we do have some side effects to our program as well. More optimism, more joy. But yeah, it is possible to achieve the same results without the medication.
You can know all the data about metabolism and GLP-1, but nothing compares to hearing from someone who was told surgery was their only option and then discovered food could be their medicine.
I had this one patient. He was probably about 380 pounds and desperately wanted bariatric surgery. And when he met the surgeon said, no problem, we'll do the surgery for you, but you got to lose 30 pounds. And he was kind of like laughing because he was just like, well, if I could lose 30 pounds on my own, do you think I would want this surgery, right? So he goes back to the endocrinologist. He happens to also have diabetes. His diabetes wasn't controlled. And the endocrinologist says, no problem. We'll put you on a GLP-1 and we're going to be able to not only get your sugars down, but we're also going to get you to lose weight. 9 months pass by. His sugars don't improve and he doesn't lose a single pound. Somehow he still wants to learn how he can lose this weight. And when he ends up seeing me, I say, listen, this medicine is doing nothing for you. Why are we continuing this, right? And he's like, okay, that's fair. So I asked to switch it to a different medication, a pill. And then I asked him to also switch his diet. And I said, I really want you to eat beans. And he sat there doing this. And I was like, okay, he's not really ready for this message. And I said, you know what? Maybe you can just read this book. It's called Mastering Diabetes. You're going to love it. And he goes, I hate reading books. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he and I are not friends. And so anyway, I went off and gave him the prescription and we talked 6 weeks later and I said, hey, how are you doing? And the first words that came out of his mouth were, you're my new favorite doctor. And I was like, whoa, how did we become friends all of a sudden? And he says, well, you won't believe it, but I ended up checking that book out of the library and I ended up following all of those recommendations, eating more fruits, more beans, all of that stuff. And for the first time in my life, I've lost 15 pounds in 6 weeks. My insulin has been cut in half. And when I eat fruit, I do not have to worry about my sugar spiking. And it was music to my ears. He's lost 50 pounds since and he's doing beautifully. And I know he's got a little ways to go, but it was just so inspiring to hear that. So, and he now owns his own copy.
Did he ever have the surgery?
No, no. He's like, why do I need it? I can do this on my own. I think that just empowers people because I'm like, there is nothing wrong with you. It's just we weren't taught how to eat properly, unfortunately. And, you know, I'm a child of the 80s. I grew up with all of that stuff too.
Yeah.
So it was a big change for me to make cut out all the processed foods and really switch from an animal-based diet to more beans and lentils. And I'm so grateful for it. I've even lost like 10 pounds in just 3 weeks, which in my 20s, when it's supposed to be easy for you to lose weight, I had to work my tush off for that. I was exercising and, you know, restricting how much I was eating, and the scale would barely budge. And when I switched to a whole food plant-based diet, it came off so quickly. And it just goes to show how quickly your body can heal with these foods.
Regina's patient walked into her office at 380 pounds, convinced he needed surgery to change his life. 9 months later, he'd lost a bunch of weight eating beans and fruit, foods his previous doctors told him would spike his blood sugar. He canceled the surgery because he didn't need it anymore.
This is the power we've been talking about today. That story brings together so much of what we've been talking about, how the right food pattern can support metabolic health while also fueling muscle. And muscle isn't just about strength. It plays a central role in metabolism, resilience, and long-term health.
You can start strengthening your muscles right now, wherever you are. You don't need a gym membership or a radical overhaul. A 10-minute walk after meals, chair squats during a phone call, resistance bands in your living room. Small movements compound into remarkable changes.
And when that movement is paired with whole plant foods, beans, greens, fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, the benefits extend well beyond muscle. You're also supporting the gut microbiome, your immune function, mood regulation, and cognitive health.
Which brings us to where we're headed next, because those trillions of bacteria living in your gut are not just passengers. They're active participants in your health. They influence everything from how you digest food to how you think and feel.
In episode 7, we are turning our attention inward to the microbiome. We'll explore how this internal ecosystem shapes immunity, metabolism, mental health, longevity, and how everyday choices help it thrive.
Your gut is talking to your brain, your immune system, and every cell in your body. Let's learn how to listen and how to take care of the remarkable community living inside you.
We'll see you there.
Let's do this.
At Food Revolution Network, we believe healthy, sustainable food should be for everyone. And when you give your body the right fuel, you can thrive. Each year, the Food Revolution Summit features world-renowned experts sharing life-changing insights. But with so much wisdom, it can be hard to take it all in at once. That's why we created the Empowerment Package. Lifetime access to every summit episode and interview, full transcripts, and over $1,000 in bonuses to help you absorb and apply it all at your own pace. When you invest in an empowerment package, you're taking a stand for your health. And you're also investing in the food revolution. You're joining a movement that's changing the course of history. Plus, with every package purchased, we donate to Trees for the Future, so they can plant another organic fruit or nut tree in a low-income community. So if you want to nourish your body, support those you love, and help to heal the planet, this is your moment. Join us. Support the mission. Get your empowerment package today. Thank you so much for sharing in that powerful episode. To express what you're thinking and to see what others are saying, post and engage in the comment section on our broadcast page. There's a button there where you can refresh the comments to see the most recent ones that have been submitted, and you can also scroll back through and you'll see lots of comments and helpful responses, including many from our team. A lot of the responses from our team also include links to blog articles. Food Revolution Network has written over 1,000 articles on critical food and health topics. They're at foodrevolution.org, and you can search there and find probably answers to a lot of your questions. Also, by the way, we haven't even mentioned this much yet, but Empowerment Package owners, those of you who have the Empowerment Package, if you log in to your Empowerment Package, you will see a little icon in the bottom right. That is our Wellness Buddy. It is a tool that is an AI tool that's been completely trained on all of our articles, all of my books, all of our resources, all of our interviews done through our past summits and this year's summit. And so it's able to answer questions pretty deftly. So feel free to give it a test drive and see if it isn't able to be helpful to you in your journey as well, for those of you who have the Empowerment Package. Nancy said, I am a retired physician and a vegan for over 20 years. I've been interested in nutrition for many years and tried to gear my patients, friends, and family to make healthier choices. As much as I read and try to keep up with all the nutritional breakthroughs, this summit always adds to my knowledge. Ocean, you are a terrific moderator and so knowledgeable and joyful to watch and learn from. Thank you for this summit and for getting the word out to so many people. This is the path to saving people and the planet. Nancy, thank you. And there's one word you said in there, which was joyful, and I just want to highlight that, because here's my belief. I think that if we want to create positive change in our own lives, we will be vastly more successful if we can find ways to enjoy it, to bring some levity, some delight to the process. The same is true with any endeavor, really. And it's contagious when you're lit up. When there's a spark in you, that will make other people look at you and say, wow, I want to have what they have, I want to eat what they're eating. So I think that's one of the most powerful things we can do, is to cultivate our own joy, our own fulfillment, our own aliveness. And the beautiful positive feedback loop here is that when you eat food that truly nourishes your body, when you exercise, when you do all the things that bring your body more vitality, you're more alive and it's easier to feel more joy. And then more joy also helps you to make healthier, more conscious choices. Because when we're stressed out and exhausted and strained, it's harder to think for the long haul. You tend to be in reaction and crisis response mode, more of a reptilian survival part of your brain. So we want to help you get into the part of your brain, the part of your consciousness that can make wise, intentional, conscious choices rather than being in fight or flight. And there's positive feedback loops here that can keep going and growing and help you to truly thrive and love your life. Linda said, Ocean, she's quoting me here. She says, the more you move in a positive direction, it makes it easier to take the next step. Part of it is when you make healthy choices, you tend to feel better. And when you feel better, it's easier to make healthy choices. That's kind of what I was just talking about. She says, in a toxic food culture, it's so easy to get pulled back. That's why it's so important to have community. So wise and true. Thank you, Ocean. Well, thank you, Linda, for quoting me. That's so sweet of you. And it does feel pretty true. I want to just give a shout out right now to the power of community. And I hope you all can feel that there's a community here right now, with hundreds of thousands of people enrolled in this summit, more than 1 million members of the Food Revolution Network community. It can be easy to feel alone or isolated when you're doing something different than the norm, when you're eating differently, thinking differently, living differently than a lot of people around you. But I want you to let yourself feel shored up and supported, resourced by this community that's gathered here right now. We're not alone. We're part of a global movement, an uprising of healthy food lovers who are saying enough is enough to toxic food and junk food and food that makes us feel like crap. It's time to make food the foundation of our health and to eat in a way that contributes to a healthier world. And friends, we're doing that. So thank you for being a part of this revolution. Janine said, instead of prunes, can figs and raisins work for calcium? Well, Janine, thank you for asking. So prunes have been specifically studied for their bone protective benefits. There's research showing they can help prevent and even reverse bone loss, and that's likely due to their unique combination of vitamin K, boron, and polyphenols, as well as the calcium they deliver. So we love prunes for bone health, and they are a top recommendation. The good news is that figs are also a great source of calcium. They deliver 120 to 162 milligrams per half cup, depending on the variety, which is quite a bit. They make a great companion to prunes rather than a replacement. Now, raisins also have some calcium, but in a smaller amounts than prunes or figs. So enjoying a mix of all three can be delicious and a well-rounded approach. Of course, they're all rather sweet, so it depends partly how your body responds to that concentrated fruit sugar, but they also come with fiber and other compounds that help slow down digestion, so it may not be a problem. It's just something to be aware of how it is in your body, especially if you're dealing with diabetes. But yeah, great for bone health, and great question. Tina said soybeans on this planet are all GMO nowadays. Monsanto has eradicated non-GMO seeds, so how can soybeans possibly be healthy? Well, Tina, thank you for asking. So first of all, Monsanto actually has been bought by Bayer, and the company has not eradicated non-GMO seeds. About 96% of U.S. soybean crops are genetically engineered. About 4% are not. Around the world, the non-GMO portion is somewhat higher. Organic certification requires non-GMO by definition, and that is really the gold standard. That's the best way to go if you want non-GMO. And you can also get non-GMO certified soy products if you like. The big reason, folks, that we may want to avoid GMO soy, I mean, there's a few, but the biggest one is that genetically engineered soy crop has been engineered to withstand the spraying of glyphosate, which is the primary active ingredient in Roundup. Glyphosate is an endocrine disruptor. It's a probable carcinogen, according to the World Health Organization, and it's an antibiotic. So having this on our fields and in our bodies is probably not a great idea. When you go non-GMO, you're avoiding that. And when you go organic, you're also avoiding a host of other insecticides and pesticides and herbicides that could still be used in non-GMO and non-organic agriculture. So hopefully that's helpful to you. Meg said, I'm a whole plant vegan premenopausal woman of 55 and eat a lot of nuts and seeds. Can one eat too much seeds and nuts? I mean, is two hands held together full of nuts and seeds, walnuts, pistachios, almonds, 2 Brazil nuts, pumpkin, sunflower, hemp, flax, and chia together divided over one day too much? Digital food apps tell me that this is way too much fat for one day. Should I eat less nuts and seeds? Estimated total body fat is 26%. Thank you, Meg from Belgium. Well, Meg from Belgium, thank you for your great question. The short answer is that the amount you're describing sounds quite reasonable to me. A generous daily handful of mixed nuts and seeds is well within the range supported by nutrition research. In fact, studies consistently show that people who regularly eat nuts and seeds have better heart health, improved longevity, and shockingly enough, considering how calorically dense they are, they even have healthier body weight compared to people who don't eat nuts and seeds. Now, the key nuance here is that digital food tracking apps are typically built around conventional dietary guidelines, which set fat limits based on population averages. Those targets do not account for the fact that the fats in whole nuts and seeds behave very differently in your body compared to like refined oils or saturated fats you might get from animal products. When fat comes along with fiber, protein, and phytonutrients, like it does in walnuts or almonds or flaxseed or chia, your body absorbs and processes it differently. And research suggests that a meaningful portion of the calories in whole nuts are not fully absorbed because of their cellular structure. Now, your particular mix is well chosen. I love to hear it. Walnuts and flaxseed are great sources of omega-3 fatty acids, and so are chia seeds, which also bring you fiber and calcium. The pumpkin and hemp seeds offer zinc and plant-based protein. The 2 Brazil nuts are a great way to get your selenium needs met every day without overdoing it. You don't want to get a huge amount of selenium, so a handful of Brazil nuts could actually be problematic on a regular basis, but 1 or 2 a day is a great call for just getting your basic selenium needs met. And overall, have at it. Now, one thing to be aware of with nuts and seeds is if some of them are highly seasoned with a lot of sodium, maybe even added sugar and flavorings, and that's not necessarily terrible. Sometimes they say a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, and nuts are awesome. But when you get a really refined product that's coated with other stuff, then you're losing some of the overall benefits. But nuts and seeds for the win. Obviously, you could do too much, right? You can do too much of anything. But a handful or two sounds good to me. Actually sounds pretty delicious. Glenn said, it's been suggested that an algae-derived DHA supplement is a good idea for those on a plant-based diet. But what about EPA? Would it be good to take an EPA supplement too, or a combination of both? Well, Glenn, thanks for asking. So both DHA and EPA are long-chain omega-3 fatty acids. ALA is the short-chain omega-3 fatty acid, and your body can convert ALA to EPA and DHA, but not everybody does so super efficiently. So you get ALA from flaxseed and chia, as well as some in walnut and hemps, and that's useful. For some people, it's enough, but for a lot of people, it seems like they would really benefit from a direct source of EPA and DHA. So fish is one source some people turn to, but of course it can be contaminated with microplastics and heavy metals, and it's not particularly sustainable. And there's ethical concerns for some people. So if you're going to steer clear of fish, then an algae-based supplement is probably recommended. Most vegans, or most non-fish eaters, in fact, have problematically low omega-3 profiles in their blood. They often have plenty of ALA, at least a lot of vegans do, because they're getting their flax and chia, but low levels of EPA and DHA, and that's problematic for cardiovascular health and for brain health. So you do want your long chains. Now, in terms of your specific question, you want them both. The body can go back and forth, so it can convert EPA to DHA and DHA to EPA pretty easily, but not perfectly. The good news is that most quality algae-based omega-3 supplements provide both EPA and DHA together rather than just DHA, and really you want both of them. DHA does get a little bit more attention, but you want both, and they usually come in tandem, and that's a good thing. Nona said, hello from the Philippines. Vegan here since 1991. For the past days, several mothers called our hotline to ask about breastfeeding, and I've already shared with them what I have learned here. I do a lot of volunteer work in my country, but what I do is to encourage those who call our hotline to get into a plant-based diet. I hope someday I can afford an empowerment package or even get certification as a plant-based coach. Thank you so much for all that you do. Nona, thank you so much for spreading the word to new mothers. Bless you for that, and thank you for helping women to breastfeed their babies. We don't talk about breastfeeding a lot in the summit, only because not that many people in our audience are actively in that stage of life right now, but it is so important. Breast is best for so many reasons. So let me just say that right now for you and anyone else who's interested. Now, no, we want to support you in putting this all into action in your life and helping you to spread the word in your community. So we're going to gift you with an empowerment package. Congratulations. Our team will follow up with you. So you'll have all of the episodes, including the ones that already happened, for life. You'll have the transcripts, including source links to studies cited if you want to go deeper on anything. You'll have all 41 expert interviews, including the 27 that we're sharing during the summit for free on replay days, but also the other ones, and transcripts of those, and audio of the interviews so you can listen on the go if you want to, plus the bonuses. Lots of great resources. I know you'll put it to good use. Congratulations, Nona, and lots of love to you, and thank you for your work. And thank you also to all of our new Empowerment Package owners. Every Empowerment Package purchased lets us spread the word and reach 10 more people with this life-changing message. And also, of course, empowers you with this knowledge as well. So thank you and congratulations to Anne-Marie from Switzerland, Heike from Germany, Tamara from Kansas, Sally from Pennsylvania, Shawnee from Arizona, Carolyn from Maryland, Sonia from Delaware, Michelle from Australia, Allison from Great Britain, Lucy from Canada, and everyone else who's investing in the empowerment package. We are so grateful to all of you. Thank you. Sarah said, microplastics question. What's the best way to work with a microwave? Of course, the inside is plastic. Is it recommended to throw out the microwave and heat on the stove? Well, Sarah, thanks for asking. The plastic on the inside wouldn't concern me a whole lot, honestly, because food's not directly touching it. Sure, there could be a little bit of gaseous release, but I have to assume that they've made the plastic walls of a microwave from a type of plastic that's reasonably safe for heat. That is to say, in the air. I wouldn't put food on it. Now, as far as microwaves more broadly, I will say I didn't grow up with a microwave, and my family thought it just seemed weird and gross, and I was not a fan. And a few years back, we decided to write an article on microwaves for Food Revolution Network, and I did some research, and I'll be honest with you, I had a bias. I wanted to find out why they were bad and tell people to avoid them. But as I did the research, I couldn't justify that opinion. I realized it was not based on reality. The reality is microwaves are a safe way to warm food, generally speaking. Now, cooking can be a little bit problematic only from a culinary standpoint, and a lot of people put like frozen TV dinners and stuff in there, and those are probably generally not very healthy, but that's really not the microwave's fault. So a few years back, we got a microwave in our kitchen. Yes, we did. And, the thing is, I don't use it all the time, but I find that I used to sometimes eat food cold because leftovers are a thing for me. I love leftovers. But I didn't want to take the time to get out a steamer and a pot and take 10 minutes to warm it and then clean the pot afterwards. And with a microwave, it's like 1 minute and it's done. And now I'm having more warm food, which I think is good for me. But you don't want to heat food in a microwave in plastic or in metal, obviously. Everyone knows about metal. But you don't want to use plastic either because it can degrade into your food. And so I recommend, microwaving in microwave-safe containers that are made out of glass or ceramic or whatever. So those are some thoughts, and hopefully that's helpful to you. But I wouldn't be afraid of microwaves, at least based on the research that I have seen. CJ said, what about oxalates and purine levels in beets and spinach, etc.? Are they downsides? Well, thanks, CJ, for asking. They are a downside to some extent. But for most people, oxalates in foods like spinach and beets are not enough of a concern that you shouldn't be eating them as part of a balanced and varied diet, because these foods are among the most nutrient dense on the planet. And so their benefits usually far outweigh any concerns from oxalates. That said, there are some people who may want to be more mindful. People with a history of calcium oxalate kidney stones, people with certain mineral deficiencies, and people with gut malabsorption issues or with conditions like hyperparathyroid disease might benefit from moderating their intake of high oxalate foods. So if any of these apply to you, it's worth discussing with your healthcare provider. And because oxalates can impact mineral absorption, but generally speaking, they're beneficial. They come in beneficial foods. Now, if you want to minimize oxalate impact, boiling or steaming high oxalate vegetables can reduce their oxalate content a lot. You can vary your greens by rotating in lower oxalate options like kale and broccoli and arugula and collards, all of which are pretty low oxalate, alongside higher oxalate choices like your spinach. And if you want to learn more about oxalates, go to foodrevolution.org and type oxalates in the search bar, and you can learn more. Now, as to your second question about purines, the good news is that spinach and beets do contain some purines, but research tells us that plant-based purines don't appear to raise uric acid levels or gout risk the same way that animal-based purines tend to do. High purine animal foods like organ meats and red meat and shellfish are the main dietary drivers of uric acid buildup. If you've got a history of gout or uric acid kidney stones, though, it's worth discussing your specific dietary needs with your healthcare provider. We've also got an article on gout, by the way, at foodrevolution.org, so you can type gout in the search bar if you want to learn more about that. Chris said, thank you, Ocean, for your transformational summits. In my career as a pain management educator, I found the evidence-based info you present to be incredibly valuable in helping patients manage their chronic pain and inflammation without oral medications when indicated. Bravo for this amazing summit. I've enjoyed every single moment of it. Well, Chris, thank you for being a part of this summit and for spreading the word and helping your patients. I'm so glad to hear that. And, you know, a lot of people who are here are probably thinking, how can I share this with other people? One of the ways that a lot of people share it with other people is by becoming an FRN certified plant-based coach. We have a plant-based coaching certificate that's graduated many hundreds of people over the last few years. And one of our coaches is Wendy Moyer from Los Angeles, California. After years of searching for a way to share her gifts with the world, Wendy found her answer in her own kitchen. She was facing persistent fatigue, and she was reluctant to accept the medications her doctors kept recommending. So she started a simple food journal, and she discovered something incredible. Today, she's a thriving coach. She teaches wellness from her home, and she's inspiring her family, her neighbors, and her wider community. This is Wendy's story.
Hey, my name is Wendy Moyer, and I'm from Los Angeles, California. You know, when I was introduced to the plant-based coaching community, I thought that my dreams had come true because that's where my gifts and talents got their wings. It was there that I discovered that not only were my gifts and talents of use, but they were much needed in the world, and that is what I needed to hear to get started. I knew this was going to be my mission in life when I got up one morning and was standing in my kitchen, and I had just been to the doctor for some assistance on some areas in my health where I was lagging, including energy and just huge fatigue and a bunch of other things. And I'm browsing through my food journal that I started to keep and remembering that I was recommended to take medication. And I really didn't want any medication. I mean, this was the opinion, times two, medication. And I decided that I needed another opinion. And it turned out that it was my opinion that I wanted most. And in my opinion, the results I was seeing in the food journal that I was keeping was that, surprisingly, food was making a difference in how I was feeling and how I was generating energy for my day, how I was able to interact with my family. And it was shocking because I am not a foodie by nature. You know, my inspirational moment arrived the day I got an email from Food Revolution Network inviting me to their brand new coaching course. And when that email came in, I had just been meditating on how am I going to share all these big ideas I have, food and movement and everything. I don't know how to put it together. And lo and behold, the Food Revolution Network, and it was like my dream had come true, and it was off to the races from there. I don't want to sound like I'm working for the Food Revolution Network because I am not, but I want to tell you that these people are truly valuable. All the people that they work with are fantastic. You can't find more kindness and openness than with these people. So when their invitation came to say, hey, would you like to be a coach in our community? It was like, are you kidding me? Where do I sign up? Show me the pen. I am truly inspired by my son. He has taken on plant-based living with both hands. He began at the age of 6 with me, entertaining the idea of all things plant-based and working with an edible schoolyard at school. And then we went on from there to our own kitchen. But now he's in college, and he has taken the things that we have learned together, the recipes that we have developed together, and he's taken them with him to college. He definitely will not be deterred by anyone or anything. And so I see that in him, and I see it in me. And I like to say that kindness rules as well, and he definitely is one of the kinder humans that you can find. So the place where I impact the world around me most is right here from my home and my kitchen. This is where I teach wellness, starting with myself. I emulate that out to my family, my son, my husband, and from there out into my present community, my neighbors. During the holidays, I love to share forward food for gifts, and I deliver or send food to my immediate family, extended family. We love to share our recipes and food with our charter school, and my clients have had nothing but extra benefits from all of the education and expertise that I gained in the Food Revolution Network community. We need coaches in the world. And I totally hear you. If you're thinking to yourself, whoa, that sounds scary and exciting, those are the perfect thoughts, and you are a great fit to come and join us. So come on in. The water's warm. We'll be waiting for you. You are most welcome indeed.
Thank you so much to Wendy for that powerful story. If you feel moved to consider becoming a plant-based coach, we would love to welcome you into the program. You can find out more at certificate.foodrevolution.org. Again, that's certificate.foodrevolution.org. There's a special insider discount available if you put down a refundable $100 deposit before the end of the summit to be able to join in our next cohort. Melanie said, the more I listen, the more I have discovered, the more I need to learn. I need to buy your package. I'm sharing everything I hear with so many people. Alas, I missed yesterday's summit, and after hearing your intro, it's the one I need to hear. It's all relevant. Thank you for blessing and educating us all. Melanie, thank you for being on the learning journey. You know, it is my perspective that curiosity is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. You know, when we're curious, we have the capacity to learn and engage. And interestingly, for me, sometimes curiosity is formed out of frustration, out of pain, out of realizing I don't know something and seeing the impact of that. So whatever it is that fuels your curiosity, I hope you can nurture it and keep learning and growing. And to all of you who are here right now, thank you for investing your precious curiosity in our community and in learning what you can here. I'm so humbled and so honored and so grateful to share this with you. Judy said, after listening to you for many years and changing my lifestyle and way of eating, I've been sad to see my grandchildren following the standard American diet, sad way of eating. However, in the past year, I've seen signs of some of the older ones taking notice of what I do and showing a greater interest in me eating in a more healthy way. In addition to my improved health, this is a great reward. Yes, Judy, thank you for sharing, and I'm so grateful that you're experiencing improved health. Sometimes that is the best gift you can give to your family members, is you well and taking care of yourself. That is a shining example that teaches more than 1,000 words. That said, I also want to acknowledge the pain of seeing your grandkids following a standard American diet and potentially laying the stage for some pain and suffering that you know maybe wasn't necessary. At the same time, I want to acknowledge the incredible role that we play as parents, as grandparents, as aunties, as uncles, when we love youngsters in our lives unconditionally, no matter what they eat. You know, let them know that you care about them and love them and just want the best for them, and give them space to find their own path. There's a balance there that seems sort of impossible. Certainly as a parent, I'll say, between wanting to help my kids have every possible opportunity and make every possible good choice, and then sometimes I overstep, you know, I kind of push them, and that actually creates a rebound effect where they push back. And so I've learned that often the best way is just to teach by example and share when they want to hear something from me, answer their questions open-heartedly, but not try to shove ideology down their throats. Of course, every parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, you've got your own process with this, but I'm just sharing a bit of mine and the importance of love above all else. As we prepared for this summit, we interviewed 41 of the world's leading food and health experts. We could only fit a fraction of those conversations into these episodes. If you want to go deeper, every day of the summit, we have 3 full-length expert interviews that air for free. Empowerment package owners, of course, get unlimited access to all 41, including video and audio only for listening on the go, and transcripts with source links to studies. Today's featured expert interviews are Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson on the willpower myth, why leptin resistance hijacks your brain and how to take it back. Just to put out a word for anybody who is struggling with food addiction or excess weight, you may find Susan's work to be an absolute game changer for you. She's got a brand new book out just in the last week called Maintain. She also wrote the New York Times bestseller Bright Line Eating, and her program is incredible. And this interview is a real must watch if you want to learn more about how your brain responds to food and how to reclaim food freedom. We've also got a great interview with Dr. Lori Marbus on risky substances, the hidden toxins sabotaging your health, and from Dr. Richard Rosenfeld on From Prescriptions to Performance, how whole foods beat drugs and fuel athletic excellence. Now, speaking of whole foods, we have 3 more recipes of the day that are packed with whole plant foods from Rosie McKay, certified nutrition specialist and licensed dietitian nutritionist. Today we've got the lentil sausage breakfast roll-up. 25 grams of protein per serving are wrapped in tender collard greens with fresh vegetables and herbs. This is hearty and vibrant, and it is a satisfying way to start the day. Next, we've got the yummy grilled tofu, which brings you 13 grams of protein per serving with creamy tahini marinade that makes it hard to stop eating, simple to prepare and easy to pair with whatever grains and vegetables you've got on hand. And finally, the champion tempeh and bean chili. You get 16 grams of protein in a serving with tempeh and beans for muscle support and plenty of fiber to keep you full for hours. It gives you warm and savory flavors that make this one you'll want to come back to. So those are the recipes of the day. Keep cooking along if you want to. I hope you all are enjoying these recipes. Brooks at Ocean from Boston, thank you for all you do and for FRN. I discovered this conference last year and went all in as vegan for the last year. I was in a very bad place that since then reversed my fatty liver disease from stage 3 down to stage 0. I reversed pre-diabetes and lost 30 pounds and lowered LDL with the vegan diet along with intermittent fasting. I do have a question. My family has rebelled against everything I've been trying to do with food and have not been very supportive, so it's been hard. Do you have any suggestions for how I can continue on this wellness journey when I feel so isolated and like I'm swimming upstream? It seems like it would be easier to stop, but I don't want to. I want my family to be healthy too, but I'm out of ideas. Thanks, and sending love and gratitude for all you do. Well, Brooke from Boston, thank you for sharing your story, and congratulations on reversing your fatty liver disease and your prediabetes and bringing down your LDL and losing 30 pounds that you needed to lose, it sounds like. This is wonderful news, and I think it's a real testament to the power of a healthy diet and lifestyle to affect all of these things at once. When you give your body the optimal fuel, it can sort of make everything start to get better. Now, I also want to respond to your pain and challenge in staying with this in a family that's not fundamentally supporting you, and I want you to know you're not alone in that experience. There are a lot of people who struggle with that. In fact, the biggest reason people slip into old habits is lack of social support. So we want to help you with that, and I hope you're part of the Food Revolution community. If you stay on our email list, you'll get emails from us every day or two with action alerts and updates and resources to help you keep going and fueling your journey. I would definitely recommend that you get some ongoing community of support. When you think about what's at stake here, like what's the price to pay if you slide back? What's the cost of having fatty liver disease, of having prediabetes return, of having excess weight come back, and how that's going to affect your quality of life and potential costs and suffering down the road. We don't want that to happen to you. So I would encourage you to do what it takes to invest in your well-being. And if you're not getting that support from your family, all the more reason to find a community that does support you. There are many communities to consider. Whole Life Club is Food Revolution Network's ongoing membership community. We have live events every week. We've got an ongoing highly moderated community forum. We've got a Wellness Buddy AI chat bot. We've got a lot of other great resources. For those of you who choose to get the empowerment package, you can actually get a free month in Whole Life Club and a 60% discount for ongoing enrollment when you register with your empowerment package. So that is a resource, Brooke, that I'd love to encourage you to consider. But there are others. The most important thing is don't try to tough it out and do it alone all by yourself. You need support, so invest in that. Find a community of practice that can keep you re-inspired and re-engaged. Hopefully you're feeling it right now in this summit, but once a year is not enough for that kind of continuity if you don't have external support. So take it seriously. You're worth it. Your health is worth it. Your life is worth it. Your family, even if they're not supporting you, they still will benefit from you being as well as you can, being the best version of yourself. So I'm just sending you so much love. If ever you fall off the wagon, just love yourself a whole lot and dust yourself off and get back on it again. You don't have to be perfect, but keep going and growing. If you find that you're struggling with food addiction, make sure you do check out the work of Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson, because a lot of people, they can muscle it out, make changes with willpower, but then they slide back because they're not really the author of their food lives. Bright Line Eating is one answer to that dilemma. That's what Susan created, and again, that's the name of her #1 best-selling book. Melinda said, hello from Medill, Oklahoma. The information so far has been extremely helpful. Over the last 2 years, I've seen the effects of changing what I eat. I lost over 80 pounds, and I've reversed poor blood test results and changing the pain I have had from osteoarthritis. Melinda, thank you so much for sharing. I'm so glad you're getting value from this summit and that you've seen such results in the last 2 years. Congratulations on losing 80 excess pounds and turning blood test results around and reducing your pain. So glad to hear that. Thank you for sharing. Keep it up. All right, before we wrap today, I want to make sure you know about today's Live with the Experts session. So those of you who are Empowerment Package owners, your live Zoom conversation is with Brenda Davis today at 1 Eastern Time, 10 Pacific Time at the top of the hour in about 14 minutes. Brenda is one of the most respected registered dietitians in the plant-based world. She's a 1 million copy best-selling author, a longtime partner here at Food Revolution Network. Empowerment Package owners, check your email for today's access link. If you're joining us as a free registrant and you want in, you still can. Upgrade to the Empowerment Package and your access link for these Zoom events will arrive immediately in your welcome email so you can jump right in. And while it's too late to go back and participate in the ones that have already happened, you will get the recordings of them. We've covered a lot. We've answered an average of over 20 questions per Zoom. We're having one every day. Lots of folks are engaging, and it is a great opportunity. So I hope to see a lot of you there in about 13 minutes. We're now approaching the end of day 6, so come on back and join us tomorrow when we go live at 7:45 Pacific Time, 10:45 Eastern, 2:45 p.m. GMT. Our focus on episode 7 is gut greatness, microbiome, immunity, and mood. Your gut is command central for your immune system. It's central to your mental health and your body's ability to fight disease. Tomorrow, we're going to go deep on what that means and what you can do to take care of your gut, to solve potentially vexing problems, to deal with any issues that might make it hard for you to adequately digest the food you eat. They say, you are what you eat. I say, you are what you digest. And at the end of the day, gut health has a lot to do with what you can digest. So I look forward to seeing you all there. In the meantime, you can watch the replay, which will be available right after we wrap up today, along with today's expert interviews, and you can make the recipes. You can keep the conversation going in the comments. And for those of you who are Empowerment Package owners, I will see you in about 12 minutes with Brenda Davis. We're wishing you a wonderful, thriving day. This is Ocean Robin signing off from day 6 of the Food Revolution Summit. And here's a look at what's coming up tomorrow.
There was a study that was published in around 2021 looking at predictors of COVID. And they found that the composition of the gut microbiome was the most accurate predictor of outcome from COVID. It could predict with 92% accuracy who would end up on a ventilator, who would not survive.
About 70% of your immune system lives in and around your gut. Your microbiome isn't just digesting food, it's actively shaping how you fight off illness, how you feel, and how your body ages.
The more fiber you give your gut, the more you will allow it to create the kind of ecosystem that is not just, surviving, it's thriving.
10 to 12 servings of plants in a day, 30 to 40 different types of plants in a week. When you think about, a wonderful bowl of oatmeal with some flax seeds, some cinnamon, some walnuts, and some blueberries, you've consumed almost 20 different servings of fruits and vegetables in that single day.
Nature has never allowed an injury that she didn't already have a solution for.
I was shocked to hear not only did I have an autoimmune thyroid condition called Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, I was diagnosed with prediabetes, polycystic ovarian syndrome, high cholesterol, non-alcoholic fatty liver, anemia. My antibodies were so high they couldn't be measured. Over 3,500s. And so that has just been a labor of love and learning that I needed to really work on my gut health and my nervous system health in order to bring that down and really put my whole body into harmony and put everything I had going on into remission. So I'm proud to say I'm pretty much there. And it's been just such a journey, such a transformative experience. It's been over 20 years.
NSAIDs create little holes in the gut lining known as ulcers. They're one of the commonest causes, for example, of bleeding, which can be fatal, and they can increase the permeability of the gut lining.
Food is far more than medicine. Food is life. Food is joy. Food is love. And that piece of broccoli is optimizing every part of the 30 trillion cells in our body.
Small shifts in how you eat, move, and manage stress can profoundly change your gut. The answers to better immunity, more stable moods, and less chronic inflammation might already be inside you, waiting for the right conditions to thrive. At Food Revolution Network, our mission is healthy, ethical, sustainable food for all. We want kids to learn about healthy food in school. We want doctors to learn how nutrition impacts health in medical school. We want the routine use of antibiotics banned from factory farms. We want a world where everyone, regardless of their ethnic or economic background, has knowledge of and access to healthy food for their family. We want a world in which heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, obesity, and diabetes are rare, and in which vibrant health is the norm. We're spreading the word, and we're standing for change. And with every empowerment package purchased, we make a donation to Trees for the Future, so they can plant another organic fruit or nut tree in a low-income community. Join this movement and stand with us for a real food revolution.